So the Mayor of Cape Town, Geordin Lewis, has written to Correctional Services Minister Peter Groenewald asking for cell phone signal to be jammed as well as other security measures at the Polsmoor Prison. He says this was prompted by the city receiving numerous reports that crimes, including extortion, were basically being coordinated from prison cells. The Mayor is also calling for lifestyle audits for wardens, who has describing the proposal, in fact, as part of a broader crime-fighting effort in Cape Town. Let's talk more then with Cape Town Mayor Geordin Lewis joining us on the SABC tonight. Good to have your time as always, Mayor. So let's start with the signal jamming issue and why you think that would curtail the actions of gangsters and extortionists.
It's lovely to be back with you again. I had the most extraordinary experience where I went to visit a roads project in a community called Bishop Lavis, and the roads contractor there said to me that he refused to work on the site any longer because he had received a cell phone call from inside Polsmoor Prison from a well-known Cape Town gangster who's serving time for serious crimes, who said to him that he better get his guys off the work site because this particular work site belongs to him, the gangster, and that he would not survive the day unless he got off. And it struck me as absolutely outrageous that the criminal justice system goes through all this effort to get this person into prison, who's really a bad person, and then he just carries on. He just carries on running his gang and doing his organized crime from behind bars. Surely that makes a mockery of our criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. I then looked into this matter and discussed it with the police. They said this is very frequent and there's nothing that you can do to stop smuggling of cell phones into Polsmoor. Also, this strikes me as bizarre. How is it possible that it is so easy to get contraband like cell phones into our prisons? So I think we must use technology. This is where I thought of this concept of cell phone blockers. Use what technology allows us to do and just make the cell phones effectively useless in the prison. And that's why I wrote to the minister about it.
So would that then be a measure that affects every cell phone in or around Polsmoor? How far would it go? And how do you do that without, for instance, compromising security in case there's an emergency that requires communication to go out by phone?
Look, I'm not an expert in this technology, and there are experts, lots of experts who've been in contact with me now that I've put this out publicly, and some of them have tried to explain to me how it works. And of course, we'd have to be careful because Polsmoor is perhaps a unique prison in that there's residential communities right on the boundary of Polsmoor, so you don't want to interrupt their signal. But as I understand it, that you could put these devices into the maximum security areas, into some of the cell blocks, and calibrate those devices so that they would only impact on those cell blocks and would not kind of cast a no network shadow over the entire facility, as it were. The guards, yes, their own cell phones would also be affected. Mm-hmm. But to be honest with you, there are many jobs in the world where you are not supposed to be using your cell phone while you're on duty anyway, and they should be communicating via their two-way radio system.
But perhaps the biggest challenge that you face here, ultimately, Mayor, is that the networks of gangsters and extortionists in your city are so vast that their tentacles are basically everywhere, right? Police, everywhere. Officers, members of the Correctional Services Department, the very wardens who are supposed to make sure that cell phones aren't on prison premises in the first instance are working with them. So even if you did jam the signal, messages could still come in and out.
You're absolutely right. Of course, you're right. Everything that we try, criminals who are determined enough will try to find a way around it. And the trick is we just have to keep trying to make it harder and harder for organized criminals to operate. And so this is certainly not going to be a silver bullet. It will not solve the issue, but it will make it harder. And I think we should try everything that we can to frustrate the lives and the business, organized crime business of these gangsters.
The sense, though, to Cape Town, it might not be completely unique, is that the people in power, every lever of government has, for instance, lost control of the situation. And I say that to say you've got gangsters shooting people in broad daylight, killing people on the doorsteps, in some cases, of court buildings. You've got dangerous criminals ordering hits, collecting money from people who are building or trying to run other businesses from behind prison walls. And all there is condemnation and this apparent scramble to get things in order. Is it fair to say that ultimately the criminals at this point, Mayor, remain one step ahead of all of you, be it the city, be it the National Commissioner who was there, the Police Minister, the Premier, all of whom were part of meetings held just last month?
I do think that is fair to say, I'm afraid. This is a broader discussion around the failure of the entire criminal justice chain. The very low conviction rates. We have put out data that shows that of the illegal firearms that we seize from the streets, only 5% of those cases actually yield a conviction. From the failed investigations, the cases that are dismissed, that never get properly investigated, to the people, committing outrageous crimes right in the doorsteps of our courthouses, and this is a very important point, to the collapse of our criminal intelligence service. This, for me, is not yet getting enough attention in South Africa. We do not have a functioning, existing crime intelligence service that is able to say, these are the head honchos, these are the kingpins, these are the people you've got to get to. And I think that is really tying our hands behind our back.
So when can people in the affected communities begin to see all of this talk result in actual solutions? I referenced the meetings that you held with the Premier Alan Winde, the National Commissioner, Fanima Samola, the Acting Police Minister, Feroz Kachalia, towards late August. When will people be safer? When will you get the upper hand?
Well, I think we've made some concrete proposals, and if we just run through those really quickly. If we can just properly investigate the firearm crimes that our metro officers, are responsible for. Those are not police officers. Remember, we don't run the police, but we do have our own metro police. And they are taking off the streets more than one illegal gun every single day, about 400 a year. And if we could just make sure that those cases get properly investigated and convicted, we would already have lots less gun violence. And so that's why we've asked for the power to properly investigate those crimes ourselves and ensure that they are properly and fully investigated. So that's one practical proposal. I've made the proposal around the prisons. We have already, put our money where our mouth is by putting 700 additional officers just last month. We put 700 additional officers on the streets of Cape Town. Again, this is Metro Police officers, not SAPS, to try and fill the gap that is being left by a SAPS that is increasingly under tremendous resource pressure.
And lastly, on another issue, there was a big raid today, 26 properties, according to News 24, raided in Cape Town today. It's all to do with a tender fraud investigation to the tune of 1.6 billion rand. Affected is one of the departments in the city of Cape Town. Speak to me about the scale of that investigation and the people who are likely involved, and how close you think the raids today bring you to bringing them to book.
Yes, the city called the police in this matter. This was an investigation that was led by the city manager himself. In fact, our city manager, Lungelo Mbandazayo, has really been at the forefront of fighting the infiltration of our supply chain over the last 2 years, and has reported many of these matters to SAPS. This is another one that he reported to SAPS, asked them to investigate, and they are investigating it. I'm not privy to all of the details of the case, so there's some of the detail that I simply don't know, so I can't answer. But I do know so far that it involves some officials in our urban mobility department, and at least one official in our urban waste management department. The police must investigate it fully. They will have our full cooperation. As I said, it's actually our own internal investigation that led to this, and they will have our full cooperation, and we will do everything that we can to root out root and branch any malfeasance when we become aware of it in Cape Town.
Geordin Hill Lewis, Mayor of Cape Town, good to have your time on the SABC. Thank you.